So here we are again with my budget 1999 Camaro SS SLP 6-speed cars. Like I said in the last video that we had some issues with the clutch. Well, here's the thing. We have an aluminum flywheel, a ram clutch, and we got a new master cylinder, slave cylinder, throwout bearing, new clutch bleeder line to get this thing right where it needs to be. And after we're done, we're going to play around with HP tuners. We're going to show you guys how to tune these cars. Because this car has yet to have an actual tune, but it does okay. But, there we go. Let's get to it. This is my first time looking underneath this car, and stock torque arm here, which is not good. We'll replace that here eventually. And we need to do some exhaust work too. Exhaust didn't really fit right there, but good thing is we have a welder, and hopefully we can booger it up enough so that it holds. Looking underneath of this thing, it is super clean, and this was something that I did look at when we first got the car, or the day that I went to go look at the car, is how's the rust. That's just the first thing. What's the history on this car? Was it a southern car? Was it a northern car? Was it driven in the salt and snow? Because I'm originally from Ohio, and I usually don't buy cars that are from up there, but this car looks just about perfect. I mean, we got some surface rust. That ain't no big deal though. But true dual exhaust. Yeah, the rear main seals on these, that is a B word and a half right there. My goodness, looks like possibly the oil pan gasket as well. We ain't gonna worry about that right now. But we do have the rear main seal since we are getting up in there, and that was one thing that we did notice the first day that we bought this car as well, is rear main seal is leaking. No kidding. With that being said, we're gonna lower it on down, and we're gonna start with the shifter first. If you had seen previous videos of this car, I put a Tick Performance shifter in it, and I absolutely love it. We're gonna get up there, we're gonna drop this thing back down, pull that out, and then we'll raise it back up and start working on the transmission. First thing, it'd probably be good to take the battery off, at least the negative side here. That way we don't have any sparks or accidentally touch something we don't need to. So now that the hardest part is done, we got the shifter out. Just kidding. This is definitely not the hardest part. Now that this is done, we're going to raise the car back up, and we're going to get the drive shaft off, and we'll start yanking that transmission out. Let's get to it. Already did, but we had a sensor here, and then you have a couple up top that you have to do. There's 2 of them. I think there's another one over here as well. So 4 sensors total that need to come off. So now we got the drive shaft out, torque arm out, which was really easy. Now we're getting into the more difficult parts. We have the master cylinder, which looks like somebody replaced this, and I know it's adjustable, so I'm hoping it's a tick. I don't know what it is, but easy way to get this thing out is kind of push this in just a little bit. You'll see a little bit of play in it, and then there is a special tool for this, but we don't have the special tool. So what I've learned is that you can get 2 picks that at a 90-degree angle, push down on that, push down on the other side, just kind of work your way back and forth a little bit, and it pops right out. And just kind of, as you're doing it, push it in just a little bit, and it should pop right out. Should be it. And then we have our bleeder line that we're going to replace, and it's leaking. It's not good. I believe I got a longer one as well. It's leaking. That's not good. I think that's part of the problem too. So not good. And also we're going to remove the O2 sensors. This one's bad, so that's why it's unplugged. With this one hooked in, I just need to replace this one. So with this hooked in, it keeps blowing IAC sensors. So we need to replace that while we're in here as well. So here it is all the way out. Just make sure that your O-ring is still in good shape, and do not damage or lose this plastic piece because you will definitely need that. So we're just going to lift this up so we can take some of the tension off of this. We're going to undo these bolts for the cross member here. And then we're going to do the bell housing last. We're just going to take okay, that's probably good. I saw it move a little bit. So we're going to take the actual transmission out first. But first, cross member. All right, cross member is out. Just had 2 bolts there, 2 on the other side, and then you got the 1 center bolt here. You got an 18 millimeter and 4 16s. Comes right out. Just make sure you got something holding it. We got this just in case. I don't know if we'll need this or not to put it on the back, but we have it just in case, which it's not anywhere near it, but still. Now, transmission bolts. Here's the transmission completely out over there. It's over there drying. We soaked it down with some brake clean, and they definitely did put a different clutch in it. Now, just like he told me when I bought the car, he said he put the cheapest ones he could put in there, and that's, you know, who knows what this is. But we're gonna take it out right now. Yeah, clutch looks good, but flywheel not so good. Look at all those, like, it's almost like grooved hot spots. I really think the throwout bearing was not adjusted correctly, and then, you know, it having a leak didn't help things either. So this thing is trash. Let's put that new one on, and before we do that, look behind it, the rear main seal.
It's leaking.
You reckon it's leaking? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's leaking pretty good.
Yeah, confirmed. Okay, I was worried about that. It does say 5.7 right there. Can't breathe.
Remember, the trick is to use the entire can at least.
We still gotta get behind it.
Yep.
No, don't worry about that because we're taking that off. That's it.
Oh, it smells so good when it's right there in your face, though.
It does. It only stings the eyes a little bit.
I see people.
Look how bloody nose. It's like a horror movie. Some dark oil. This thing had an oil change in like probably 20,000 miles. After looking at this, one thing that they did not do was put RTV all the way across the bottom of the top of the pan. That is not good. I think that was the biggest culprit of why this thing was leaking. Also, it looked like it was replaced, and it was replaced by a cheaper brand, and that gasket was just as flat as the rubber part on the gasket was just as flat as the metal part, which was not good. Not good at all. So we're gonna put a Chevy Performance one. We've been through this before a couple times. We've gotten cheaper ones before and had the same exact issue. We've even had them that we didn't even get 10 miles on them and they started leaking again because we use a cheaper brand. Use Chevy Performance. That's all I could do is stress. If you're doing this on an LS, get you Chevy Performance. Here's what I was saying right there. Make sure you don't miss this step right here. Put your RTV at the bottom there. If not, you're gonna have exactly what this car had before, a massive leak. So we have the new rear main seal on. Now let's put the flywheel on. Aluminum flywheel has just been put in, torqued down. Now time for the pressure plate. All right, so now we have this ram clutch in here. We did torque these down, so I need to go back. We did torque the flywheel to 72 foot-pounds and the pressure plate to 54 foot-pounds. Put the bell housing back on, and then we need to get to this measuring of the throw-out bearing, and this is probably the most tedious and most important part of this whole entire thing here. Kind of go in depth. I've already done it before on 2 other videos, but we're gonna do it again just because I think it's very helpful. Someone's, may have missed the other videos. Just want to be helpful here, so let's get to that. So while he's over there putting the bell housing back in, I'm going to get to this slave cylinder. So I have a feeling there's no shim behind it, and there's possibly going to require a shim. Not sure, but we're about to get into that right now. We're going to take this guy off. It's just 2 10mm bolts on this, and it just pops right off. And yep, just as I thought, no shim. I knew it, and I think that's part of this problem with this whole car. I don't think the clutch was fully engaging. Not good. Maybe. I don't know. Just speculation. But we're about to get to the measuring, the nitty-gritty part of it. So let's get to it. Here's what we got here. I have a Hinson Motorsports speed bleeder for the throw-out bearing, clutch, whatever you want to call it, master cylinder. And I have a new Chevy Performance, once again, throw-out bearing, slave cylinder, whatever you want to call it, 2-in-1. And we do have some shims that we can put behind this here to bump it out if we need to. We're going to take the spring off, measure it without it, and we'll see what it is. We'll see if we have to put a shim on it or not. So we're going to get to that. So if you remember, the spring was on here and onto here. Take that off. You kind of have to twist it and push it in a little bit. There's a little groove, a little keyway right there. You just got to get it just right to pull it out. And then once you do, pull the spring off and put the actual bearing back on. Let's go ahead and do that. And you want it to seat all the way to the end. Whoops, sound check. So that should be flush. And then now we'll get to the measuring. All right, you ready for your lesson? Oh, this is just an easy little drawing here. So here's your bell housing, right? There's your pressure plate, and I just extended the fingers out just for visibility purposes, but it's really going to be pretty much sunken into the pressure plate a little bit. And then here's your transmission, there's your shifter. We ain't got to really worry about that. But what we need to figure out, we have an X and a Y. We have face of transmission to face of throw-out bearing. So that's going to be this point right here. So from face of transmission and the face of the bell housing is the same exact point. And you're going to have just a little bit of a difference there, but it's not going to be enough to actually affect our calculations here. So X, face of transmission to face of throw-out bearing, is this right here, right? And then we need face of transmission or face of bell housing, same point, to the fingers of the pressure plate. So, and that's going to be our Y. And of course that's going to be the bigger number, so I had those flip-flop, but anyway, we're just going to roll with it. So we're going to have to do Y minus X, face of bell housing to face of fingers, minus face of transmission to face of throw-out bearing, and that's going to be our gap. And a required gap is 0.125 to 0.200, which is about 1/8 inch to 3/16 of an inch. So very small gap, just under 1/4 inch. And that's all you got to do. So what I was saying about the shims earlier is that this, your throwout bearing and slave cylinder, whatever you want to call it, it's both the same thing. You can put a shim behind that and move it forward, just in case your gap, like I think for that Trans Am right over there, we had a 0.3 of an inch gap, which is way beyond the required gap. So we actually had to put a 0.120, almost an 1/8 inch gap on it, just to meet the gap required. So there's your quick little lesson, just over 2 minutes, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now let's get to this thing. Oh, and one important thing is you definitely need a caliper gauge for this, and make sure you have it. Have one that comes out at the bottom like that, and always hit that 0 button a couple times. Just make sure. You never know. With that and a straight edge, we're going to place right here, and then we'll measure straight to the face, which is right there. That straight line right there, the face of the transmission. That's the part that's actually going to butt up to the bell housing. We'll do this a couple times. We'll probably measure here on this side, measure on this side, then we'll probably put this up here, and we'll measure up there and right there, and we'll kind of get an average of our numbers, and that should be good enough. And then the same thing here underneath the car. We'll put the straight edge right there, and then we'll measure from the straight edge to the fingers. We'll take a couple different points, and we'll angle this thing a couple different ways. And then also, don't forget to take out the thickness of your straight edge. If not, you're going to be messed up big time. So make sure you take out the thickness of your straight edge. Alright, so after we did all our measuring, so the trans side, those are our 4 numbers that we got, a roundabout, and then I just took the average of those, and then our straight edge also 0.333 was the thickness, so I subtracted that out of it, I subtracted that out of the average, and that's our number right there, 1.943 inches. And then on the clutch side, there was our average. I only did 3 because they were pretty much all identical, so no reason to do a 4th one. So I took the average of those, 2.564, and then I subtracted again the straight edge out of it, and then we had 2.231 inches. So took that 2.231, which was our Y, minus 1.943, which is our X, and that gave us our gap of 0.288 of an inch. And gap required, we're a little over, just barely over. So we need a shim. So here's our shim here. You see how thin it is. So this thickness here is about 1/8 of an inch, just shy of 1/8 of an inch, so 0.111. And then so we subtracted that, because if you remember, we're going to stick that behind the throwout bearing, and that's going to bump it forward just a little bit, so that's going to lessen this gap here. So that brought us down to 0.177 of an inch, and that is, we're perfect, almost like right in the middle of where we need to be. So I feel pretty good about that. And we're going to throw this guy behind this guy here. We'll take these bolts back off, and just remember to put your spring back on, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So we're going to get to that. And then also we're going to take this guy off and put that Hinson Motorsports speed bleeder on there as well. So let's get on to that. Alright, here it is. We have the new bleeder valve on there, and the new throwout bearing with the spring. Should be good. We'll see. Hopefully so. So let's get this thing on in there. This only took like 3 minutes. That's a record for us. That's not bad. So this lined up right in, it popped right into place. We had to twist it just a little bit, but you definitely need two people when you do this. I mean, you could probably do it by yourself, but still, two people just makes it so much easier. One step closer to getting this thing back on the road. We need to button up all our transmission bolts, and then we'll put the cross member on and shifter and you know the rest of it. And we had to take some of the exhaust off, but could have done it without it or with it on it, but you know, just to make it a little bit easier. Plus it's got these real nice little V-bands here and they're pretty easy. So anyway, let's get to the rest of it. If you have a lift and you are pulling transmissions out, you definitely need to invest in one of these transmission jacks. And this is not no expensive one. That's an expensive one over there, but this is just a cheapie. I think it was like $200. Harbor Freight, Northern Tools. I think we got this at Northern Tools. It was straight off the shelf. We got it same day, and it has helped with that car over there, 99 Trans Am, and now this 99 Camaro SS. Go get one. Perfect. Only thing I would say is that I would upgrade these guys here to better bolts, which I have a plan for that later on, and maybe I'll do a video on that. But other than that, worked perfectly. So now that it's pretty much all wrapped up, we just had to bleed the clutch here. And what we did is we topped it off up there in the master cylinder there, the little reservoir for the master cylinder. Came over here, had my buddy over there pump the clutch up about 10-15 times, and then I cracked that valve open right here, just pop. And air or nothing or whatever, usually nothing comes out at first, you know, go through about 3 or 4 different cycles of that, and then you'll eventually start getting fluid. So pump the clutch 10-15 times, pop it open, close it immediately just like you're bleeding your brakes, and then you'll eventually start getting some clutch feel, usually about the second or third time you pop it open. But don't be scared if the clutch pedal goes straight to the floor. It's like, whoa, not supposed to do that. But you know, after you manually do it by hand a couple times, about 10-15 times, it should come back around. But that's all you gotta do with that. We're gonna tidy this thing up in the engine bay. We're probably gonna lay it up here, and that's that. And here it is, just like that, it is back home, and the clutch is absolutely perfect on it. Now, I know you're looking at it. Yeah, we're gonna get this thing painted, but that's gonna be the last thing that we do. I drove this thing about 10 miles or so right after we put the clutch in, and then last night we even had, it was so nice out, we even had the T-tops off. We drove it through the city, took it out on a little, you know, date night, and it did absolutely perfect. It got stuck in traffic for a little bit, did perfect. Clutch never went to the floor like it used to. This thing is perfect, I think. I hope. We still need to test it a little bit. I'm going to drive it to work here and there, and we're going to really test it out there. We're going to get stuck in 5 o'clock traffic, and then after that, holds a couple times, and you know, we should be good after that. Let's see. So, yeah, there it is, all in there. Good to go. We did route the line. Where's it at? Did route the line right there. But this thing is looking pretty good from where it started out. It's cleaned up a little bit. It's pollen season right now. But it's looking really good. So let's just go ahead and do a little cold start on it here. Firm than it's ever been. with the aluminum flywheel. It goes into gear so much easier now too. I mean, this car's coming around, and you know, I don't know how long it's sat. If I had to guess, the gentleman that had it before me, it probably sat 6 months to a year if I had to guess. And you know, he put some good parts in it here and there, but this thing is now officially back to being a daily driver. And this cam is it sounds so much more aggressive than what it is. I mean, it's no bigger than like an LS3 cam. Matter of fact, I think it actually might be just a little bit smaller, but the LSA is so close, it just gives that right amount of chop. And I love it. And you know, I don't care about speed or anything like that. I mean, obviously with my 4.8 liter in my 79 here, it ain't fast at all, but it sounds good. That's it. You know, it's a good daily driver. I trust it to drive to California right now. Great car. This one here, we'll give it a week and then we'll trust it to go to California. Probably wondering what's next on this car. What is next? And it's definitely not gonna be paint, like I said, although it does need it. That's gonna be last. But what we're gonna do, since this is a real SLP car, I want to put the SLP grill on it. We're gonna do it. And it's gonna have the red and black SS badges on it. And I took the ones off of here. Actually, this said SS. You can kind of see where it was. Those were broken, nasty. Just kind of did the little badge delete, and I kind of like that actually. But I do have new ones of those. I do have a new emblem here for the Camaro emblem. But I'll put all that on when it gets painted. So what's next? We're gonna lower this thing. I'm gonna order some BMR lowering springs. We're gonna get rid of that truck cap right there, especially back here. Now, eventually we will get some new wheels. Look at that gap. My goodness. This car does ride so good though. But anyway, I'm gonna get the SLP grill, lowering springs, and since it has a stock torque arm, I'm gonna order a new torque arm to go along with it. And then, after that's said and done, probably get some wheels, maybe not, depending on how good it looks when it's lowered or not. We'll see what happens. I don't know yet. And then we will get this thing painted, and we're going to take you along step by step into part 4 and 5 and possibly a part 6. We'll see about that. So if you guys like content like this, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy.